Okay, my apologies to anybody that was trying to watch in the stream. Should be started now and should be available. Do you see it? Are they on Skype, were they asking?
Yeah.
Forgot to check it on Skype too. It's working. Skype's working. Huh. Hide this little thing. So who's here on the stream then? A few people? Haley's in the library. Stacy, oh, Stacy's following from home. Okay, well, I'm going to mark those people present. Where was I? Stacy, we said is present. And Haley is present. Good. Okay. What was I talking about? Talking about Audacity. Yeah, so I won't go into much more about it, but if you want to learn about this and you want to use it for audio editing, very powerful tool, very simple to use really once you figure out a few things. And you'll have to mute who's ever got the live thing open. You want to mute it. Otherwise, you're going to get a horrible feedback. And the recording is going to have a horrible feedback too. So, all right, we're oh, let me see, try one more thing here. I'll record another little track here. I'm adding to this track here, so that's one of the possibilities. One of the other one I can make add new track. So I'm going to add now a new mono track. So as I record this, it's being recorded underneath. In fact, right now it's a combination of the two, so it's combining this track and that track. What I should have done initially was, and I'll still do it, I guess, is mute this track. So when that track's muted, only this track is active. So I can be fooling around with different things. I could be taking this little piece now right here, and I'm just going to do the old Control-C copy command and go back up to this track, unmute it so that I can work with it. I'm going to find a spot at the end of this track and just go Control-V and paste that. So if I wanted to splice anything into this, if I wanted it there, or I could have, put it in the middle here and just splice that same thing in there, so that if I'm recording something and I've missed something, I can go back in and add to it. So got some interesting possibilities. Okay, so again, because we don't have a chance to really work with it here, I guess we just wanted to let you know that there was such a thing, and if you're interested and want to learn more about it, and you get it on a Windows computer where you can download this and set it up, give me a shout, and we'll do a little tutorial on it. And there's.
Have you ever done karaoke with it?
Not with this one. I don't really do karaoke.
Well, I would try to get hard because what's hard to do.
Lots of guys, like kids, use it for hip hop all the time. They're always recording stuff because you can use it to record just about anything and put effects on it. It's been developed by people who like doing that sort of thing. So they've added features to it all the time. So it's a straight up educational record is the main idea. But then people have taken it and used it for all sorts of other things too. So it's like lots of things on here. They're people have just added to it and added value to it. If it's open source, it means anybody can work with it. If it's proprietary, like GarageBand, for example, is the Apple application that sort of does the same thing. But it's all Apple. Apple owns it. They won't let you get inside the code. They won't let you change anything that, of course, you can't even get into it. So that's called proprietary. Whereas if it's open source, then people from around the world who have the skills and the abilities to edit it can and do, and usually add a great deal of value to it for people. So, and in education, next couple of days, I'm going to start talking about this open educational resources, which is a big worldwide movement for education. People, mostly teachers and administrators, who are sick and tired of paying textbook companies bajillions of dollars for textbooks for resources that are easily available online. So what they've developed is this whole what's called Open Educational Resources Initiative, where you can get just about any resource that would normally come in a textbook. You can get it in a online resource that you could download and print if you wanted, but most of the time it's for web-based resources. So quite a few repositories like that. One of them actually I wanted to look at today was this thing called the Internet Archive. Anybody ever heard of this Internet Archive? Or the Wayback Machine? Just do a quick search for Internet Archive. And it's this space here. And it's got a thing called the Wayback Machine. And the Wayback Machine is a very, very interesting service. If you ever go to a page where it says, you tried to click on a link and it says 404, file not found, that means that there was something there, but somebody took it down or removed it or changed it or took it away. But you really wanted that. Well, you could come, if you still had the URL, that link, that address, you could come to this Wayback Machine, put it in the Wayback Machine, and the Wayback Machine would find it. And it's got anything that's sort of been printed on the internet is always going to be on the internet, available somewhere, if you can find it. So this is a machine that was designed to find that sort of thing. So it's quite useful. What was I looking for the other day? I was looking for snowmobile trails, KML files of snowmobile trails in Manitoba. And the website that I hit said it was no longer there. This no longer published. Well, so I still have the URL, the link to it, put it in the Wayback Machine, and came up with a copy of that web page. And it told me the last time that it was edited and a bunch of information about it. So, and then of course it directed me to the new page where the new material is already there. So I didn't really have to get the archive version. I just didn't have the right link anymore. So anyway, so that's the Wayback Machine. But this Internet Archive is also an amazing resource because these guys have set this up, again, open source. People are doing this just out of the goodness of their hearts because they love the internet and they love doing stuff and they love sharing information. We were talking about this Clay Shirky the other day. There was an exam question, a quiz question about Clay Shirky. And this guy's got a theory of what he calls cognitive surplus. Remember I asked you that question, why do people put cat videos on the internet? Why do people put cat videos on the internet? Because they can. Because they can and they like to, and it makes them feel good. They just like doing something, they like being productive, And this is Clay Shirky was observing this, and he did this a long time ago when. Well, you know what? That's what he's talking about, is cognitive surplus. He said that we've got too much time on our hands. We're most of the time, though, what do we do with our extra time? We sit and watch TV, right? Which is a one-way channel. Well, no, not. I'm not saying everybody, but what he observed was most people do. We spend hours and hours and hours watching television, which is a one-way thing. So when people finally discovered there was another channel that you could actually get stuff, but also put stuff, people jumped on it. People loved it. Flickr was the first thing you noticed, the photo sharing application, right? People love to share pictures of everything, And of course, Facebook took advantage of that, and Twitter, of course, too, and all these social media. And now they're making big gobs of money by marketing you whatever you've shared on there, whether that's your pictures or your ideas or your complaints or your observations about political affairs or domestic affairs or your quilting patterns on Pinterest or whatever you've shared. They're now making a fortune off it, right? So, but we still have this impulse. We still want to create because we can. So that's why we said we have this huge cognitive surplus that's available, and it's what Wikipedia has been built of, right? This huge encyclopedia of everything that everybody's building, everybody's working on. It's kind of supervised by some people that know what the hell they're doing, fortunately, but mostly it's just people that know something about something that want to share it with other people. So it's a marvelous tool. So there's lots of environments online where that's still the case, and this is another one of them, Internet Archive. And it's a funny story about how this got started. Anybody ever heard of the band called the Grateful Dead? Old 60s rock and roll band. Still around, actually, in a bunch of different versions, but it was an old rock and roll band, old style rock and roll. Anyway, the fans of the Grateful Dead, they call them Deadheads. Most of them were technical freaks. They're geeks. They love doing computers and stuff like this. For some reason, they made a connection with this funky rock and roll band that mostly played the blues and long extended guitar solo blues type of stuff that most people, I don't know, I don't mind it, but it's not my favorite style of music. But of course, these Deadhead fans, they love this thing. So they created this space to store all the music of the Grateful Dead, because sometimes they had trouble getting it published or recorded or released. So they've created this, what they call the Internet Archive, just to store the historical record of their favorite band, the Grateful Dead. Well, of course, it took off from there. They developed such capacity, and they had such, people with technological capacity working on it, that they said, well, why don't we just make this a whole place where we can store anything we want in the world, where people can store anything they want, and people that want to make sure that stuff is on here and never disappears again, let's build a space for that so that it can't get stolen by somebody else or ignored by somebody else or forgotten by somebody else. They want to have it as a repository of human knowledge. So that's kind of why they built this. And then, of course, people started dumping money into it and time and effort. And it's one of those things that's actually grown and continues to grow and continues to have value. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but lots of different layers. So texts. So if you go into this, and I would actually encourage you to do this, open this up if you can on a computer, on the desktop computer, I guess probably is the easiest one at this point. And I'll actually get you to sign up and set up an account in it too. But for the time being, well, why don't I do that? Let's go sign in and create an account. And what we're going to use this for is for another option for podcasting. But I just want to do a quick little trip through it. Once you get signed up, and again, use your throwaway account. If you after the end of this class you never want to think about it again, well, just walk away from it and don't worry about it. But just to explore it and fool around with it for the time being, set up an account using your throwaway account. Easy to do. Let you in. Nobody get kicked out? Like this little tagline at the top here, search the history of 357 billion web pages on the internet. It's a lot of information. Yeah, so once you're in there, you can start looking at books. So for example, here's textbooks or books generally. And people now have discovered that this is available, and big institutions, like they're talking about the Smithsonian Institution, University of Alberta, a bunch of different big libraries who had these big collections of books but didn't have any place to store them. They didn't have the server space or capacity to store them themselves, so they made a deal with the Internet Archive, who hosted them. And that's the point of the Internet Archive, is we want everything that you want to share. So we want to make it available. So you can look in here too. So Canadian libraries, for example, I just clicked on Canadian libraries under books, and you can see all the different libraries that are using the Internet Archive to store books. I don't know if Brown University is on here. Ottawa, Alberta, Toronto, lots of newspapers. I guess we could actually search by name, but UBC's on here, Queen's University, University of Western Ontario, Statistics Canada. So all these, huge repositories of papers and resources that maybe nobody really has any interest, but maybe somebody sometime might have some interest. You find it? So just take a quick scan through it and see some of the things that are available. Starting to do some scans of older books too. And this is another big project that's going on in the world right now, digitizing everything. Taking all these old records, print books, and turning them into digital copies and making them available. Because that's what happens lots of times, is these old books, they just get forgotten and then nobody's interested anymore, they get dumped. And it's a big job to look after physical books. So what they have done is they've developed tools for digitizing everything. And even more than that, what they've done is created this thing called the Text Encoding Initiative. So they've taken these scans, but then they've also used these scans and used a program called optical character recognition to actually read the things that they've scanned. So that, if you just take a picture of something, well, that's one thing, but you have to be able to, your computer has to be able to recognize the words and make sense of them. So that's what optical character recognition does. It takes the words and turns them into, through artificial intelligence, turns them into something that we can read or a machine can read. So again, as I said, this is a big international project, always ongoing. This is part of digital humanities, and the reason I know so much about it too, that's my subspecialty, is the digital humanities. But this text encoding initiative, so you can imagine that when you're trying to read and scan a word, you've got one word like, I don't know, like character. Just take the word character for one thing. What does that mean? It means a bunch of things, right? It could mean your personal character, your personality. It could be a character on a piece of paper. Each character in a word is like the letter in the word. It could be a character in a show. An actor could be a certain character. So the word character has a bunch of different meanings and depends on the context that it's used in. So how do you train a machine to tell the difference between those things? Well, that's what the project is they're training these machines to recognize the word character and know that it has multiple meanings and know from the context which meaning is which. So you can't just scan the word character and expect the machine to know what it means unless you've told them to do it. So that's what this whole idea of the text encoding initiative is figuring out all the different categories that we apply to words and concepts so that we can teach machines how to do it. And it's getting pretty smart. And so that's part of what's going on here too with the Internet Archive. They're trying to make sure that all this resources are stored somewhere, even if they aren't OCR'd, optical character recognition, or text encoded yet, maybe sometimes somebody's going to. So, and Google started doing the same thing with Google Books. We looked at that before, but of course they're doing it for proprietary reasons. They want to sell it, whereas this Internet Archive is doing it just completely for the goodness of their heart, for humanity, basically. Same thing for videos. I just clicked the next link over in videos, and you can see here all the different videos that have been collected. Sort of a bit of a category starting at the top here, but you can search it. There's things like Democracy Now! Or Occupy Wall Street. Remember a few years ago there was this big protest, American protest called Occupy Wall Street, when the Wall Street bankers ripped everybody off, and the government, the American government, still gave them billions of dollars to bail them out. Well, people protested and squawked about it, of course, and I don't know if it went very far, but all that record, all that history that, of course, the mainstream establishment doesn't want anybody to remember, it's all remembered here. So at some point, that's going to possibly be of interest to somebody. So when they finally get around to charging a banker to criminal activity. Different things, culture and academic films, ephemeral films, films that aren't meant to last necessarily. I'm just looking at cultural and academic films. Here's Khan Academy, the one that we looked at before. He's got 2,738 items stored in the Internet Archive. So if ever YouTube decides that Khan Academy is no longer their pet project and kicks them out, well, there's a stored copy of this somewhere. Same thing with TED Talks. You know, suddenly we decide that the topic of a particular TED Talk was offensive to somebody or other. Well, there's going to be a copy of it recorded here. So things like this that get recorded. It's just a fascinating little exercise just to scan through the main subject areas, and it's hard to go into any particular one in detail, but just know that if you're ever looking for a resource, there's a good chance that the Internet Archive is going to have a copy of this. One of the things, of course, is the cultural and academic fields, films, and First Nations and U.S. Indian tribes have been using this for storing all sorts of things on there that would otherwise be lost. And Internet Archive encourages this too. So if you ever have anything that you need stored or recorded, use that. I'm going to skip over audio. I'm going to come back to audio, but look over here to software. So this is the same thing. Lots of the software that's been used. We've been using computers now for 25, 30 years, and in the last 15 or 20 years, it's really become a social thing. So all the different computer programs that are available, whether that's games, computer games, you see some of the different things that are stored over here. MS-DOS games, historical software, classic PC games. So these things that are no longer in production, but some people found interesting. Software applications that are no longer commercially viable, but not covered by some sort of copyright protection. There's a copy of them in here. So Tucow Software Library. If you're ever looking for software for different things, I don't know, and you can see different, just again, doing a quick scan through some of these different little applications that, might have been around for a while, but you can't buy anywhere anymore. Well, there's a good chance that they might be available on here, so worth a check. World of Warcraft. And remember some of the old games, if anybody ever played computer games, there's probably a copy of it on here somewhere. So, but I want to go back to this audio place here. And again, this is another thing where they've stored all the audio. And as I mentioned, it was the live music was one of the favorite categories on here. One of them, as I said, was the Grateful Dead. If you looked into this Grateful Dead, let me do a quick search here. How can I find it? I'll just do a general search. So.
It's the red and blue.
What? You see it? Oh, this one down here? Okay, yeah. Usually it's right at the top of everything here. Yeah, so you can see it's got everything on here. Every concert or show they ever performed or concert they're ever in, starting over here in, the 60s. Oops. Starting in the 60s and onward. So if you ever want to listen to a recorded version, I don't know, let's listen to one just for fun. This is.
Okay, good evening. Please welcome the Acoustic Dead.
So actually a pretty good quality. I mean, it's not so good quality listening onto my little computer speaker here, but if you listen to this on the stereo speaker, it's actually represented in fairly good quality, fairly good fidelity. So again, the interesting thing about this though is that we can use it ourselves for different things. And they really want you to, especially if you're teachers, if you're working in the field of education. Doesn't matter if you're just fooling around with stuff, if it's rough stuff, doesn't matter. They want you to be able to use this resource to share things like audio. So I'm just going to go into this little share button here, and I'll encourage you to do it too. I don't know if you've got any audio files on the computer that you're working with, but let's just try this for fun. When you click on that, it's going to ask you to upload. So you could, if you had a file available to you, you could just drag and drop it. Or in this case, I'm going to have to go find a file. Let me see if I've got an audio file that I could use simply here. I guess I could have recorded one on my Audacity and saved it just for this special purpose, but I'm going to go into, let's go this PC, find an audio, find a music file. Electro synth, my favorite stuff. Let's try Moonglove. So I've added this file. I'm going to add it to my Internet Archive account. They always want to put a little description on here, so I'm just going to call this demo and test maybe, because they always want to have a tag to make it searchable. One of the things that's an option down here, when you're just fooling around with the Internet Archive, just exploring it, one of the things that they ask you to do is to say, is this a test item? If you're just fooling around trying to figure it out, they'll let you record a test item, and that's what I'm going to say. It is a test item. So if I mark it as yes, they'll delete it in 30 days. So they don't care. They got lots of room. But if it's something like this, I don't even know what this file is, but it's 1.9 megabytes, so it's not a huge file, but still takes out space if I'm just fooling around to demonstrate. Well, I might not necessarily want to save it on here. So anyway, so now I've designated as a test item. It'll be removed after 30 days. I've given it a bit of a description, a bit of a name. Title is already listed on there. All this is, what do we call all this type of information? Information about information, what do we call that? Metadata, yes. So most of these things ask you to register a little bit of metadata about it so that they can.
So who sees all this? Say you did this.
Anybody.
Everybody?
Well, not necessarily anybody that has the link.
Oh,
or has
so
the
it
interest.
wouldn't just be us here in class.
Not necessarily, no. Although again, you have some choice over who sees it too. Although when you put it here, the idea is that you're putting here to share, right? That's the point of this.
Okay.
So just watch now, I'm going to show you something. So I'm going to upload and create your item. So you can tell, please wait while your page has been created. That's fast. Although sometimes when there's lots of people using it, it slows down and it says, well, you're number 32 in the queue or whatever. So it takes a little while. But it's creating me a page. As soon as it's created, it's going to give me a message. I don't know how many pages I've got on this. I've got quite a few. Mostly they're test pages, so they get deleted after a while, but oh, well, yeah, I just said there was 1,948 tasks ahead of me. But didn't take that long. It's done. Go to your page.
How much were ahead of you?
1,948. So it was pretty quick. So here's my little file that I just created here, right? So this was I called it test. If I click on it now, it's going to play it. I think. Where'd it go? No, that's not me. Where'd I go in I go in my files here, my library. The one that I just created. Well, it's still uploading. Well, no, here it is. Here's the one. So if I play this one here, click open this one. I don't even know what this was. Some electronic music. I love electronic music. Maybe not this one quite so much, but so here's the things that you can do with it and manage it. All the different download options. I could save that to somebody else, share it with somebody else as a download it as a file. But I want to go here and click on this and find the embed button. Oh, no devices. Where's my thing? Manage. Different things that you could do with respect to editing and how you want it to show up on search engines. Here, the share button here. I want to share this item. So everybody recognize what this is? Yeah. So I'm just going to go get this. In this case, I'm just going to grab this main embed code here. And what am I going to do with it? Go find a spot for it on the blog. I'm going to go find on the page where I've recorded my podcast stuff over here. And well, I guess I'll find a spot down at the bottom here where I've been putting all of these different things down here. What do I have to do? Switch to the HTML editor. I'll put it right down at the very bottom of this page. Underneath, what was that one? The anchor one that I had before here. And now update it. View blog. I'm slow today. Oh, I gotta fix this up. But here's the little player that I get from the Internet Archive. I'm just gonna fix this up a little bit because I forgot to fix it. I want to go back and change in the. I put the embed code in there, but it didn't display quite the way I wanted it. So I'm going to go down here now and make some space here so that it's. And then update it. And now view it. So you see all these different things that I've done for podcasting here. We did the SoundCloud one. We did the Anchor one, which is probably still the one that you're going to want to use for this class if you're creating a lesson so that you don't have to splice a whole bunch of stuff all the time. You can actually build a podcast from a bunch of different clips right within Anchor. But this one, I like this little player that they give you here. So this is right from the Internet Archive. If I click on here, it's going to go to the actual Internet Archive and find it. But I've embedded it here. Nice little tidy little player. It's got a volume control. I can mute it, thankfully. I can rewind it. Anyway, so Internet Archive player turns out to be, a nice little compact, easy to use. You saw how easy it was for me to do. Lots of other possibilities for it. So for example, for downloading, if I want to share it for other applications and programs, these are all the other formats that I can convert this file. I uploaded it was, I think it was an MP3 file. But if I wanted to ever convert this to something else, this is an easy way to do it. So it's recorded as an MP3 file. I upload it as an MP3 file, but if I want to download it, it will convert that to another file format. So sometimes that's kind of handy to have. This FLAC is a high fidelity, so it's got lots more quality to the audio. Ogg Vorbis is this open source audio code. MP3, of course, is this Motion Picture Academy format. M4A, there are all these different proprietary formats. So Wave, of course, is the Windows Microsoft audio format. So I could convert this, whatever file, whatever format I uploaded it as, I could change it right from within the Internet Archive. So that's kind of got some interesting possibilities. So as I said, if you're looking for a place to store audio, conversations, languages, they're always trying to get people to store examples of languages that might be at risk of being lost. So certainly First Nation languages, some of them are in that situation. Or just expressions. Conversations with elders, people who have historical knowledge about a particular topic or area. They're always interested in getting that type of cultural resource and making it available for present and future generations. So anyway, that's a couple of things there. I wanted to then go on and talk a little bit about, just review Anchor. Has everybody been working with Anchor as your podcast application? SoundCloud, well, that's one of them. Certainly, I'm going to just do a quick little review of Anchor and encourage you to consider using it, of course, because it's got, you can make a fairly finished little podcast with very little effort and add some features to it. So, and remember, this is sort of my version here. I want to go into my episodes. I won't create anything new, but this is the one I made the other day, right? Pent demo, and that's the one I've linked on there. If I wanted to go back into this and edit it again, very simple to do. Once you've published it, and I hope that, if nothing else, if you don't get back to this as you're planning your lesson, at least that you've embedded something for the day that I did the demonstration, and when we're talking about now, I can walk you through it. If there's something there, I can give you a mark for it. So just make sure that there's an example of some kind of podcasting on your blog, so that I can give you credit for it. So anyway, you can see what I can do with this. Edit this Anchor episode. I can update the episode. I can go back into it, change things, add things. You can see all the different segments that are in here now too. And you remember the different things that I put onto it. I recorded an introduction. I recorded an outro or a thanks for listening sort of little clip. I did a little explanation about how to export G Drive to Anchor, some things like that. And then I interspersed it with little clips that made it, I don't know, we'll say I give it polish. These things. So little transitions between the different audio clips on here that kind of give it a little polish, give it a little interest, give it a little bit of a professional feel to it. So Oh. Kid on the floor. Anyway, that's Anchor. So we got a few different places that you can store audio for the podcast for this project. Mostly what I'm looking for though is someplace where I can go and click on a link and hear what you've had to say about this lesson that you're planning for using a podcast. And I want it to be your voice so that, and I know I don't like hearing my voice either, but you get used to it after a while. So I don't really want it to be somebody else's voice or somebody else's information. I want to be your stuff, your authentic stuff. So it'll be good. It'll be fine. And again, I'm willing to walk people through any one of these things too. If you need a little bit of extra help with them, don't hesitate to ask. Let's take a little break now, but before you do, I'll show you what I did on my way over here today. I just recorded a couple little YouTube videos, just with my phone, just as I was going along. And let me see if I can find them. Oops. That's not it. No, the photos aren't this. So where's my channel and my video? So I did a couple little things here like this one.
My house in the middle of the street.
And then I did another one where I parked my truck.
I parked my truck. I parked my truck. I parked my truck.
Okay, enough. So that's what I want you to do now. Go for a little walk. Go around the block. On each corner of the block, take a picture of the signpost. And take yourself a
I'm
little...
creating my Wix site. You think you already have a stunning website? That's cool.
Shut up.
Do a video or a picture?
Do a video. Just a little quick video of the signpost at each corner of the block as you go around.
YouTube?
On YouTube. Save a video, make a video clip and upload it to your YouTube channel, right? You got that already set up on your phones? It'll be fun, you'll see.
You do know it's cold out there, right?
No, it's hot. I got my sandals on. I'll stay in the room so you don't have to worry about your stuff. Liz gets Mark's presents. So those that are watching online too, you can do this too. Make yourself 4 little videos of some space. Make it a couple blocks apart or a little bit of a distance apart that's going to show up. What I'm going to do is we're going to embed these on a Google map and add value to a Google map as if you were doing for a lesson. So if you're waiting for us to come back from break and you're watching this on the live event, you can actually go and do this and take a couple of clips out, make a couple of clips and upload them to your YouTube account and have them ready to go when we start working on the next little thing, which is going to be doing a little review of the maps application. Using Vocaroo. Oops. Using Vocaroo was sort of the first little audio management application that we can use here. It creates a place to record, not only record audio, but also to store it and then display a player that people can click on. If you click with one click, you should be able to listen to this clip as I go along. A few other features, lots of things to upload to recommend using Vocaroo, mainly because of its simplicity and ease of use. So. Get some?
No, I never did because my phone doesn't have enough storage.
Oh.
I'm just totally.
You can't upload right to YouTube?
Not when I don't have, because I don't have data right now.
Oh, I see. Okay. We should have Wi-Fi just about anywhere you go here, though.
I was gonna talk to you about Thursday.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
was like traveling. I ended up leaving.
Last
My
week.
ride left at
Yeah.
like 4, so
Yeah.
I had to leave, and then because I was gonna come for the first bit of
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
And then when at home, like
Yeah.
the internet there, I was trying to watch the videos.
Oh,
and
okay,
they're
yeah,
just slow because the data's up to the limit.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it slows
okay.
the internet down. So I didn't watch the videos, but I was gonna do that tonight.
Sure.
And
Yeah, no problem. Well, that's why it's there. So
I put a blog post. I made a map.
Okay.
My whole like where I went and.
Okay,
my
good.
steps.
Interesting.
I
I'll
uploaded that to my blog post for that day.
look forward to
I
that.
don't know if that's. Okay,
Well,
how much watching
here-
video stuff?
As long as you're demonstrating that you're using technology and sort of figuring it out, that's what I'm looking for sure.
I made the points and then I
Mhm.
connected them.
Mm-hmm. Good.
How far away I live. Well, I spent most of my weekend driving.
No,
I got home this morning at like 5.
I don't know. Yeah, this part of the world you can count on doing lots of driving for sure.
Yeah. Everything's just spread out.
I only took a video,
That's fine. Yeah, that's all I wanted.
but it's not on, they don't have, internet on there. I mean, well, down that way you lose.
I don't know how far this Wi-Fi
I didn't have
goes.
anything.
Nothing out there.
So like once you
Right,
write it,
right up
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
But I have, I went up to the music area and, and I noticed that I'm not connected here.
Yeah, it doesn't have too much, just little short little clips too, because we're gonna fool around with embedding them into Google Maps. So.
So do I just upload it then to
Yeah.
Drive? Okay. even
No,
though I
no,
don't have-
upload it to YouTube. A little easier to work with from YouTube. And it goes to the same place. You're gonna get a copy of it both places, but if you go right to YouTube, it's gonna give you a link and an embed code, right?
This isn't related to that, but that map I put on a post,
Okay.
I also write, like. if
Oh,
I-
sure. Yeah. Let me go look at it here,
Do
just.
that in a compose, like I put
Yeah.
the map in the HTML one, but.
Is this the one, the day 12 one? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah,
Let's go look at it.
so if I wanna add
Sure.
writing to it, I can.
Yes, absolutely. So still hit the little pencil down at the bottom all the time. The other thing you want to do too is, we can talk about this too, changing the display area of your blog. So you can see that it's not really fitting on
Yeah, so
here.
it's not out of the.
Yeah, so you have a couple of choices. You can make the map smaller, but you don't really want to do that.
So what area is the second last stop there? The second last, that's Thompson.
Thompson.
And then the last one is where that's how far from Thompson it still is.
Oh, you went the other way around.
That's the faster way. because
Is
you
it?
don't
The
have-
other way is, through where I go, Moose Lake Farm.
Oh, yeah,
That way.
Yeah. If I take that way to go like to where I'm going,
You
it ends
longer.
up adding to my trip because of that, you have to go slower through the.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, my video, but then I have YouTube on here,
Yeah.
but it's not on here though.
Okay, but click the three dots there. Are you signed into your Google account on there? Let's try Gmail. Turn on your Gmail. You have to switch it on.
Okay,
Okay.
wait. But it says thunder, but I didn't do anything
Okay,
yet.
so now you gotta go find that. Okay, so it selected something.
I
okay.
selected it,
Yeah, but you gotta tell it to go someplace.
yeah,
Um,
and I don't have,
I don't have it. Should be.
I
on there
have
somewhere.
it, yeah, because
Try,
I do have it, like,
Just
right
open-
there,
Open it
it's
there
just-
then.
but I didn't upload it to anywhere yet.
Try what happens when you go here and say upload. So go up to your things there.
What is this?
Uh,
No device, what's this?
that's your files, or that's gonna be a recorder.
No,
Okay, allow access though, because that
Oh.
makes the connection between it and your.
allow, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
sure.
No, it's
Okay.
this one.
Now, okay, so click that one. You're recording something new now, I think. Oh, there you go.
No, this
Okay.
is the same
Oh, I
one.
see, now you can do, that's the nice thing with these things is you can do some trimming on here too, but we won't do worry about that for the time. Just go next. And give it a name. Name and
okay,
description, title and description.
okay.
Yeah, and it should be there, yeah, so. What's that, Liz?
I don't remember.
I forgot it.
Okay, so,
Oh, let's refresh it, see if I.
Okay.
If I adjusted the width.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's more like it. So the other thing, of course, too, you can make that even wider display space and make your map bigger too, right?
You can make the map.
Yeah, so just right click on the map when you're editing it. Let me see if I can find it just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Anytime you can get to that page and look at the embed code, when you see the embed code, if you read through it, you're going to see different things that talk about width and height.
Mhm.
So you can adjust those, change those, and then the display will change automatically. So you could do it in the Google Maps application, but you can do it just as easily in the embed code that you've already got on your page. So.
How do I put it on YouTube?
What's that?
My video.
Oh.
Press upload.
Where?
Share. Usually there's a share button that says.
Library? No?
Well, you want to find that particular, is that the one you want to upload?
No, I did that one already.
Okay,
I did that with the iPad.
so find the one that you just recorded. Okay. And then, so find where we got YouTube on there. Should be, you might have to go to your YouTube account and just open it. So do you have the YouTube app on there?
Mm-hmm.
Open that.
Yeah, I'm on there.
Okay, and then,
This is that.
and that's your channel. And somewhere there should, over here, that little camera. Yeah, you gotta allow access to all your stuff, so. Okay, now go find the one that you just made. Is that the one you just made?
Yeah.
Okay, and then it should let you put it up there. So did you find that code, Liz?
1 second.
It's the one I put in my post.
Sorry?
It's the one I put in my post.
Yeah, you're fooling around with that one, making that, sizing that differently. So for example, here's what I see, is my code here for the map that I've embedded. So if I want it higher, I could just make this, I'm gonna make it,
Oh, height.
yeah, so I'll make it 6, and then I'm gonna change the width a little bit too, just to make sure that it's displayed. Usually make the width a little bit wider than the height. So I'm gonna try, see what that looks like.
Make mine have
You could, but I'm just gonna score you just email my Gmail account.
Yeah, so usually when you're doing things like this, embedding, it's because you want people to stay on your web page, right? If you're using with students, of course, you don't want them bopping all around the different places you can go, so. Rick?
Yeah, work.
They told it. I did. That was only like 1 second. Try this again.
Is it okay to leave all of that other stuff in there, like when we're doing our lesson plans, or do we have to take them out?
What's that?
Like the video lesson. So I'm gonna move my video that I did today into the video lesson, or should we
Yeah, so
take it out?
are you putting in your MindMeister map?
I will be, yeah.
Sure. But that's what I'm hoping that you're gonna do here, though, is also put each one of these examples along the top
Yeah,
here.
that's what I have,
Yeah, okay.
but
Yeah.
that's what my examples are. Do you want us to remove the examples and just leave?
Like the
our
practice
lesson
things that you did?
plans?
Yeah.
Or
Remove the practice and just put sort of the finished one that you want to use as your
well, if I make them, as practice and then put the actual.
Yep, you can do lots of different things,
Whatever
but,
is easier for you to.
well, it's easier for me if you just put them across the top and I can just look here. This is your maps example, this is your podcast example, this is your, and then your lesson plans are on a separate page sort of thing, so. And I don't have to hunt. So I'll give these guys a couple minutes to get back here now. While we're waiting, you can see a couple of things that I've been keep exploring and looking around. There's another product called ArcGIS. It's another free mapping application. It's kind of similar to Google Maps, but it's a little bit more complicated to work with. You have to have, I mean, you can figure it out. You can teach yourself how to use it fairly simply, but it's got a lot more features that probably you wouldn't use as much as you would Google Maps. So, but I found this on a website called Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Center. Everybody familiar with this? And I was looking at the technology links. And this is kind of an interesting, useful website, of course, too, because it's specific to First Nations. Lots of interesting discussion on here about land-based education and the connection between ICT and land-based education. And that was where I found this one. That was one of the connections that they were making between technology and land-based education, was using things like GIS, Global Information System. So this page, and I linked this page, I put it in the Zotero group as well. But you can see things like, Pinimunteng ice fishing they created a map about good ice fishing spots, where the pickerel are. Let me see. Look at that. Fairford, right? So where's a good place to go fishing from Fairford? They've actually even linked up with pictures, images, different things that we're talking about doing here too. Same thing here, checking, kind of a really interesting little story about a fishing trip, but supported by a map. So each one of these locations then is indicated on the map. It's linked to a point on the map. What else did I find on here? And I haven't explored them all yet either too, but Chiefs of Sagging, what's this one? Anyway, quite a few different resources. Red River in the Northwest Rebellion. Of course, that's a big subject area in the middle years social studies curriculum. And they've kind of got it broken out into different learning resources related. So, I don't know, let's look at geography, for example. All the different learning resources that are geography related, based on the general topic area of the Red River and Northwest Rebellion. So, anyway, fabulous resource for this class, but also probably down the road if you're looking for ideas for lesson planning, either for this class or again, down the road when you're teaching. Quite a fabulous resource. So anyway, so we're doing this now. We went and you created some videos. You made some YouTube videos. Let's go create a new map just for fun. So remember how to get to your maps. So when you're into Google Maps and you're logged into your Google account and you click that little overflow icon up there, one of the places that you'll come to, you'll see on the side is this Your Places. And when you're in Your Places, now these are all the other things that you can do with your maps. But what we're doing was creating maps. So go into Maps and then go down to the bottom and where it says Create Map. And you can make as many as you want, but let's do this. Let's call this one YouTube clips in Brandon. And just a description fooling around. Around. And then save this. So now, once you've got this, let's call this layer, let's give it a title and call it YouTube clips. Now let's go find that, where those exact spots are that you took those clips, right? So we're going to zoom in on the map to that point. Yeah, hate this most bad. So if you zoom in tight enough into Brandon, you find the exact location of where you took that video. So I'm going to go and find Brown University. Brown University right here. So here we are in the education building. I'm going to take my little pin, and here's my truck parked over on this street right here. And okay, save it. And now edit it. So this are the different things that I can add to my point. So now I'm going to select a YouTube URL, and I'm going to go find my YouTube URL, the one I just created from my channel. And I hate autoplay. Thought I had it turned off. My videos. Okay, here's where I parked. Here's my truck. So let's grab that link. Take it back to my map where I'm creating this thing. Go find that, embed or add the link to this. So it's not really embedding, but why? Looks like it added some music for me. Oh, it's stupid autoplay. Okay, so now I got that saved in that point. What the other one I did? I did my house. So I'll go find my house. Lorne Avenue East. Way over, way over, way over. And grab my point. And where am I? Yeah, right here. Save your point, and then once you've saved it, you can go back into it and add. Now you can add the video again. I'm going to go grab the YouTube video that I recorded from that particular spot. Hopefully without triggering all this autoplay. Okay, so now I created a little map, video-based map of something simple, 2 points. But on each one of these points, I've embedded a video. But if I go there and play that, hit that pin, it's going to put me to this link. And then whatever I've recorded there.
My house in the middle of the street.
So think about the things you could do with this for a lesson. If you were, doing a walk around a community, trying to teach your students about some significant event that happened in your community, maybe a historical event in your community. You could actually do this and go around the physical locations and take a video clip of it, but also connect them to on a map. Just like that one we saw from Fairford where they're doing a fishing expedition, right? So the pins are on the map, but there's also pictures of each, of some event that happened on each one of those maps. So then, of course, to share this, what do we have to do? Go to share, got to publish it. So everything on Google is private by default, but when we want to embed it, we've got to change that. Again, not too much concern about this, especially if we're using our anonymous accounts and who cares really. But you do have all sorts of control over the amount of privacy that you have for anything that you create and post online. Again, you should also remember that nothing's really completely private either. So anyway, so I'm going to save this as I've made this a public map now, and it's published. Once I've done that, now I can get an embed code. Oops. From the link on this. A couple of things that I can get is just a plain embed code, but I can also get a KML file or a KMZ file. What's KML again? What is that? Remember? It's just a keyhole markup language, it's called. The KMZ file is kind of a multimedia version of the KML file. And that's what we've got basically now. On this point, we've embedded a couple of points of data on this map. So if I downloaded the KML file or it'd be a KMZ file, because there's actually multimedia on there. It's not just, text data or points data. There's actually multimedia on there now, which is what YouTube video is. So, but for the time being, I'm just going to embed on my site, grab my code, and when it's blue, I can grab it, go Control C, find a place for it on my blog somewhere. I'll put it on my maps lesson. Just find another spot for it. Already got one map on here, so there's lots of room for another one. Again, looking through the code when you're embedding a map on here, you want to make it as sort of big enough so that people can actually view things and see things right on your blog without having to go hunting around, going off to YouTube or going off to Google Maps or anything. You want to be able to display this right on your blog. So if you make it big enough, people don't need to go anywhere else. They can actually get the information from your map. So you have some choices when you're setting this up, and as we were demonstrating before, you can change in this particular one, you can change the iframe, which is this embed code for this map, has adjusters on it. So you can adjust the width and the height for it. So you've got to kind of make it work with whatever the format for your blog is, how you want it displayed. But typically when you're using it for an educational purpose, you want to make sure that your students can view the information you want on your blog or on your web page without having to go someplace else. Because if they go someplace else, they might not come back. So there's my maps page with my second map. The first map, you remember I changed the size of it. And the second map now is this one, YouTube clips in Brandon. And again, if I go and hover over those clips, I can get a play right from the embedded point, the data on that embedded point.
I parked my truck.
So again, simple little exercise, but lots of possibilities. Everybody able to do that? Get the
You
map
lost
done?
me at pinpointing.
Okay, so finding your spot where you took the video.
I did.
Yeah, okay. And then you remember when you're editing this map, you're going into this create map.
Yeah.
And you see this little pin.
Yeah, I got it up to that part.
Okay, so then find where you want to plant that pin.
Got it.
And then edit it. So you have to save it. The first time you do this, you have to save it.
Okay,
Once you've dropped that,
save.
okay, once you've dropped that pin,
Click save.
it should be saved, yeah.
Oh.
If you can still see the pin, and then you can go, and then you can edit it. You can go back in to see the little pencil.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then it should give you the option to add an image or a photo or a video. And that's what we did, where it was just click that pin and added a video, and then went and found your
Doesn't
YouTube
do
clip.
anything. Oh, no. You can click on it.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I lost.
Did you see it? Oh, click the little camera.
Oh, see, well,
And then more.
Yeah.
And then YouTube video. So you already have that. Did you put it up on your YouTube account?
No, maybe.
Go up and just open up another tab here on YouTube.
I think I have YouTube.
Could be in your apps or whatever. It should be here. Then.
I'm thinking, right here.
Yep. So you have to go to my channels.
I logged in already.
Yeah, no, but remember your channels and others. a spot on the YouTube account.
Okay,
So
so,
click on that. Use that channel.
oh, here, this one,
Yep, try that one. So click open it, yeah.
it's only 1 second.
That's fine, that's all it takes. So just grab the URL for that.
Mhm.
So that's the address. Just grab the whole address.
Without that W,
No, the whole thing.
okay,
So you know, go back to the map. And we'll go
right here.
there.
No, okay.
Select it.
Select. Oh, okay.
See it?
Save and share it.
Yeah. Okay, so the map description.
Where does the URL?
This is the one I
Right on the
was.
top of the page, that's it there, yeah.
Oh.
So copy
Yeah,
it.
so you have to change
What
it,
is-
yeah, so
on
copy it
copy.
on the web. See it, yes.
Copy it.
And then you're done, yeah, basically.
Oh, you gotta switch it
Oh,
to
sorry.
public, right?
Yeah, if you want to publish the map,
The thing, yeah.
not your video, you don't have to worry about that,
The
but
map?
when you put it on the map, would you find the, okay, when you save that one there now, you save, well, okay, that's where you got a video of that point.
Yeah.
Okay, change the name.
This?
Yeah, just, I don't know, so you can tell what it is. Yeah, one click.
For this, for right here at this corner, I just made one.
Okay, good. So now you save it. Now see the little camera over there?
Oh, so that's all you have to do?
Yeah, now go find over on the far right there. That's for an image URL, you're there, but you want to go across. Click on that, yeah, and go to YouTube.
Oh, okay.
That one saved.
Oops, there.
Yeah, there you go. And now select it down at the bottom there and save it. Good. Okay, now to share it, of course, so on the map over there, give your map a title on the left side there. Okay. You just click on it, it says untitled map. Just give it the description or whatever. Just so you have a whole bunch of things called untitled map. And then you can even do this untitled layer there where it says untitled layer. Say YouTube. And save that. So now you.
So my other videos, I.
Yeah. And you could add this day as you go, but for the time being, go into the little 3 dots beside demo there. And grab the embed code, embed on my site. Oh, okay, so yeah, so you have to go back where it says share in the middle there. And then change it from private. Public. Okay. And now, 2 little dots there, yeah. And you that code. And pop out your map page on your blog. Anything else there?
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. You agree? Which one is it? See that? Okay, so. That. Thank you. Oh, sorry, not today.
Yeah.
How do you upload
So that's your YouTube. Okay, just grab the URL. And, yeah, click on that. Sometimes any English, you open it as well. Just do the thing. Turns into a marker and then drag it around. So we just call this, yeah. And then the little camera. And then over far right. So we just, or, well, we take the intro of videos. Video pieces. YouTube here, I'll just pop it. So, good. Now, you have to go and share this map. So in the middle, it's a share there. And we'll change that from there.
Cool.
Yeah, so we're done now. Let's go to 3 blocks beside each other. Left code. What else do you have?
I just went in Boston this year.
Oh,
And then
did you
I put
upload
them
your
on-
videos?
I put them on video.
Okay. Oh.
But I don't know how to put them on.
Can you just open one? And save to, yeah, upload. You know, it actually might work from there too. Let's try this, just grab the URL from there. Yeah. I'm gonna have to publish it, sorry. Somewhere down the bottom of that corner there. You see YouTube. There it goes. Should I open with, is it the YouTube option? Go back here again. And right click on one of those. And then, open with, try to open with. No, okay. Well, let's go back, just go back to YouTube itself. Maybe it's already on there. It's my channel.
You sure?
Yeah. My channel.
See, because I uploaded this one on my email this year. I
Oh,
can't
okay.
remember how I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Try just going on your phone again. And just find share. Or if you just download the channel.
Well, I was hoping to share.
Yeah.
I just go straight to YouTube.
And then give it a description, description.
But I didn't want to use,
Is it?
because it'll go to that one.
Well, that account,
Yeah.
okay, can you switch accounts on that? So go back. Hit the share button. And do the second, that should show up there. Didn't see it. Refresh it, it's broken. And usually, super arrow at the top there. It's okay, but then that's what you're looking for then. So now you're going to your YouTube and grab the link to your video. Should be somewhere now. Even if it isn't completely finished, it should usually still give you a version of it. Else, all right? So we got, there, yeah. So that's your map. You make one for today for the.
Yeah.
Brands. Your videos.
Yeah, I uploaded them.
Okay. So then you changed it to public?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're ready? Are you stuck on? Yep, here it is. Okay, now. Publish it. Okay, new jobs.
There's a video over.
Okay, you click on that, open it, and just grab the URL at the top there. Yep. Yeah. And the point on the map, right? It's one of the next one over. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so now, to be able to drop that someplace, you gotta zoom right in. Yeah, here, until you find where this is around, right? So let's do this.
Can I look at it?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure.
How do I?
Let's go back to the video on YouTube and play it in my channel.
This is the one they dropped, eh?
Yeah, I think that's one we have, yeah.
The courtyard.
This out here, this one
Yeah.
right here? Okay, so go find it on the map now. That one here. Where is that? Somewhere around there. The pin thing, that's it. No, this, you gotta grab the pin thing, you got a hand pin, yeah, there you go. It should change into a little crosshair if you get it. There you go. Now we'll find wherever that is. Yep, so we can drag it. And you can move around after too.
Oh, you can move it around.
Yeah, yeah, with the hand pin. So change pin, make a point. There, yeah. There. Call it that, whatever you want to call it. Courtyard, whatever. Yeah. You save it, now see the camera there? Yeah. This is all the multimedia that you got that. And so if you go to more, YouTube URL. And just history. And save it. Select whatever stick on it. And save that thing. Well, now you're gonna embed it on your blog, right? And is that where you got
Yeah,
it?
that's.
Okay, so if you look in the middle there where it says share, and change it to public. It's private, so it's public. Yep. Save that. Go, scroll down. Yep, done. And now right beside the title there where it says YouTube clips or those three little dots there, yeah. On the top there, right there, yeah. Embed on my site.
Oh.
Yep.
And then I'll make sure you got the code,
Yep, just grab that code.
copy it.
Yep. And then go back to your blog and the page that you've got going for the maps. So here's your blog. You put it in. Did you make a page for maps? Okay, yeah, good. And then just scroll down. Scroll, no, you want to scroll down on that. See the little pencil?
So this one there?
Yeah. So we're gonna put another map on this page, right? Just for fun. No, that's okay. We'll do that. Just scroll down a little bit in here. Yeah. And in fact, you're gonna have to switch to the HTML mode too. And then just get a new bear somewhere. And then takes control V to paste it. And you see, you can size that, change the size of it.
This one here?
Either of them, right?
Okay.
But like you see that, and now that's 640 by 480, but you can change that to whatever's gonna display on your blog the way you want. Does that work for you, Mark? You got it on your blog?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and I'll just update. So that's gonna be small.
It's gonna be small?
It's smaller, right? So we're gonna look at different ways that you can adjust these things, but yeah, okay. Just fool around and see what you see. That's not easy. Okay, let's see what that looks like now. Update. Okay, so you must have erased something that we needed in there.
Maybe
So,
maybe something wrong with it.
so height.
This one here?
It looks like there's something wrong with that one. I don't know for sure.
Do I need that?
Not the roadside,
Yes.
you need internet, that's on mine was only 1 second.
Blog, yeah.
Oh,
Go to your maps page.
the 1 second I had, internet.
And scroll down to see your other maps there too.
Then I said,
So-
oh, another one there.
But now you wanna make those bigger.
Huh?
So you
I tried to do it.
change your
To make a
code.
video.
So,
Oh, change this code.
yeah, so go into your little pencil again at the bottom there.
Apps on your iPad.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's taking a
And
while.
now change that to something bigger, right?
Did you
So
upload it to?
both of them
I'm
actually.
putting it on my book.
Because you got it square, right?
Yeah.
So most of the time you make them rectangular.
oh, that little camera.
Yeah. That's good.
I totally forgot all about that one. I'll try when I walk to my car. Oh.
It's taking a while to load.
Is it? Though it's working though, is it?
It's working, but it's just.
Okay. I wanted to show you another thing too. You can go back to that map that you've got going here now, the one that you created today, even if you want. And what we're gonna do, we'll add a layer. But before we add a layer, let's go and you should be able to find this on my blog. I put this up here on mine on, where did I put it? On the sidebar here where it says maps, GIS and maps. And you're looking at, I was figuring out snowmobile trails in Manitoba. You see that? So this is kind of a fun thing. You see all this Snowmobile Club Manitoba's made all these different maps. You can find, here's one that goes up by Thompson. I think that's about 400 kilometers or something like that. But click on any one of these maps, and it's going to give you the data, the code for it. So you can click on this little sign, the arrow sign, and tells you what's available for this. So it's this one. There's where am I looking for? What you're looking for is a map and a file, a data file for it. And I don't know if you have to right click on it or what it was. So click on the map, click at the starting point of the map, and then put another one at the ending point of the map. And say, save it. My trip. And then once you've done this, it shows up in this little sidebar panel over here, and it creates what they call a GPX file, which is very similar to that XML file that we were talking about before. So just click on that link, and it should record this, download this KML file. And I'm going to call it, I don't know, snowmobile trip or field trip. Save it. Doesn't matter, just so you can find it again. But really, mostly what I want, I want it to have show up here, down in this little corner thing. So now I'll go back to my map that I'm creating, and I'm going to create a new layer, add a layer. And this layer I'm going to call snowmobile trip. Save it. And then see import, it says import on that layer. Now it's asking me to drag and drop a data file. So I've got that little snow trip file, what I did here. I'm just gonna drag that over. I'm just gonna drag that over. Well, I gotta go find it from downloads now, so. I lost it in my little down part, but it'll still show up here. What did I call it? Snow trip. Just drag it into that space on the map. It's probably easier to go in here. Downloads. Oh, it's being miserable. Lost it. What did I call it? Snow trip? If I hadn't mussed that up, it should have still showed up in this little thing. I could have just dragged it across here, but I flubbed it up somehow. It shouldn't be so hard for you because you wouldn't have as many files in it as I've got here. Here it is, Snow Trip GPX. Click on that and drag it into that box.
That's my big one.
Eh?
Your regulars are checking. There's 13. That's why they're 10.
Video's too big, is that what it says?
Yeah, our videos too.
Too long?
Yeah,
Too long for who?
for iPad. Since I have my map made, where am I putting it?
You're gonna put it on a page on your blog.
If I go share.
Yeah, so once it's made, did I go? Oh yeah, here it is, okay. Drag it, long story short. But now I've created another layer, and that layer shows up on my map. And again, what you can do with layers, of course, you can turn them off and on. And if I've embedded it already, where I go to embed it, it should have updated it there too. So now when I go to this second map that I created over here and zoom out, it should have that. Probably have to refresh. Did it work? So that's making data on different layers and making it multi-purpose machine. Yeah, so my maps.
Publish, right?
And that's going to be hard to display on the top of your log.
On that?
Yes, because that's going to be the title of that post.
Oh, okay.
You may want to change that, just make that.
This work?
Map.
Good to see you.
You already have a page called map?
Yeah, I'll put that.
Okay, map two. Picture of two, so you might have to trim up a bunch of those, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we'll do the next couple of days, is to trim everything up and get it to 30.
And then I go save, right?
Yeah, save
Like
it,
click on.
and then display it, yeah. So map two should show up in the toolbar, yeah. So it started another roll there.
Okay.
But, so you see where you might want to trim up some of your titles there, just so that it displays a little more.
Yeah.
But that's good. We all see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my point.
So you got the
There's
points.
yours.
Oh, you found that? Okay,
Yeah, I
good.
found that, I downloaded that.
And you found it, okay, so now go back to your map. And now you got another layer where it says snowmobile trip.
Yeah.
So go to import.
Okay.
And then drag that file.
You're
drag
trying
that.
to upload videos.
And
The same one.
It's a good point.
then-
Where is it? Oh, I wait for Woody.
Yeah, I
There's my
know.
point. and-
Well, that's your point,
Yeah,
but
Okay.
then you put a snowmobile trip on another layer.
yeah. Oh,
So,
okay.
so that, you probably want to change that on type of
Your
layer,
video
change that to that one,
Okay.
points or whatever.
So it's gonna take a
Go
while.
on to whatever
My
you wanna call
point,
that.
okay, Brandon.
That's it. So now you got a map with two layers.
That's done.
Right,
On one layer is your snowmobile trip, one layer is your pins.
okay.
If you uncheck the check mark on it, besides snowmobile trip,
Let's,
see the little check mark beside it?
oh,
Still on your map, but it's not displayed.
okay, so I go share,
Yeah, so now go, yep, sure,
share.
and change it. No, you already got it. Okay, change, okay,
Done,
yes,
done.
yes, done. Done, yeah. Now we'll grab your code.
Same
So
area,
beside test there. It says your title is test, there's little dots.
oh,
And
then,
then my site, grab the code. Repeat. Yeah. Find your spot wherever you want to put it.
HTML.
Yeah.
HTML. Number there, I guess. Oh, okay,
And paste.
and I keep forgetting this.
Either works. So now you can choose your size, remember?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Right here,
yeah, so that's the height, and then there's the
the
width.
width.
So, I don't know, I'd say make it 800 by 500, just for fun. And then you'll be able to compare it to the other one. Maybe 550 or 600, and then we'll update and see what it looks like. I liked your video. There, see?
Oh, so make it smaller, so
Well,
this was 550, this was 600.
that was 800 by 600.
So it's 800 this way and 600.
No, yeah, 800 wide and 600 high. I think.
I'll change the 800.
Well, I mean, that looks fine too.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's fine. As I said, you want to have a maximum display on your blog too, so that people can view it on your blog without having anyone else. You know
Oh,
what,
yeah,
that's-
my,
But what you, yeah, it's good. But you got this on there as a post, right? And you should put that on a page.
okay, so,
So just go back and go into the little pencil there. Right there.
that was only right here.
Well, that's for the one above.
Oh, shoot, that,
Just go back. Just say it, close it. So it's doing a test there.
there's my pencil.
Yeah, down below.
No,
That's on that goes, that goes, that goes. It's this.
okay,
Okay, just highlight all that,
all this.
Yeah. draw X. To thing. Now go back to your, just your main blog page. Say, okay, yeah. And then over on the left, it says pages. New page. And that covers maps. Publish. And then go back on the blog. And then, yeah, so right up on the top here. Right, there, number 2 level. See maps. Maps. Okay, you got a couple of them there. I'll go on the left there where it says. So here, I can do that, just a minute.
This one, not this one.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you got 2. Well, it'll be easy to tell because you got one with a capital and one without a capital. So let's go look.
The
Save
same.
it, save it, and what does it show? And your 2 bar. So you get maps with the small n, which is the one just like that.
Oh my God, there's too many places to put them.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of the beauty of it, right? Because you got lots of
Yeah.
flexibility for like things.
So I can just go adjust it then.
Yeah, so you can adjust 2 things. You can either
Yeah.
adjust the map
This one,
or you can adjust your, what's that? So go into design.
and my
you
video is down
go into customize
over here.
and then adjust widths.
Widths. No.
Yeah, okay. Now change the size of the big part.
This one,
Yeah,
I need more
yeah, you need
space,
more space to display stuff.
and this needs to be small.
Yeah, maybe, although maybe once you get it big enough, you'll see. You fool around with it.
Oh, okay.
And then once you get it where you want it, say apply to blog on the top right. And then go back to the blog. And view blog. Yeah, so you see now you have lots of room to display stuff now. Even your videos you go in and
I can move these.
you can move them and you can, yes, in fact, you should. If that's your video for your lesson,
Yeah.
yeah, so do that as a page.
Oh, okay.
Grab that code, copy, Control X.
Control X.
Let's see, yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
What do you have to do?
Sure enough. and
Pages.
Page, new page,
It's the,
video, yeah,
because it's,
it's cool, yeah, so just paste. I call this my video lesson.
Yeah.
Or even just video. Push it. And then go back and view the blog.
Load it up to have.
And, we already had them build video lesson, right? What was on that one?
Demo.
Look at,
Is it the same one?
did you hear this one? Okay, that's when you're experimenting, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
What
so,
is this?
I think that's when you're just playing the screencast.
Oh, yeah, I think so, yeah, when they did, okay.
Okay, so.
But anyways, I could change them all.
Sure,
You can-
yeah,
okay.
so, but the one that you made your lesson that you got in your clipboard right now, go find a spot for it on this page.
Oh.
Pencil.
So go back in here.
Well, you just want one tag in the top, one page with your video stuff
Okay.
on. Okay, so now if you want to display that, click on that little pencil, you find my video lesson there.
This one right here.
And you can even uncheck the other one.
Okay.
This one,
This one, practice.
Save.
So when you're unchecking them, that means you're getting rid of them
No, that just means that they're not displaying up here.
on this, oh, okay.
No, that's what I want. When I go look at your stuff, I want to be able to look at all of your examples across the
Good luck
top.
finding them.
Yeah, no, I'm a good hunter, but I
Okay,
don't wanna.
that's good.
Anybody else need a hand? Good. Amber, you all right? No, you good?
That's just, they can't sit down and.
Oh, yeah, no, well, we're done anyway, so. I'll stick around for a little while if anybody needs a hand with anything, but.
Coffee, it starts.
I'll show you, tomorrow we'll look a little bit more, doing some more, just sort of fine tuning things. Some of the things that we can do with videos, actually. Some of the editing that we can do right within YouTube videos. Used to be lots of things you can do. They're not quite so much anymore, but there's still some stuff that you can do in your, so if it's your own video, for example, here's what you see, edit video. And across the top here is some of the things that you can do when you edit your own video. So you can change, a bunch of the metadata about it, of course. But then there's some enhancements that we can do. As I said, there used to be a lot more enhancements.
My house.
But one of them that's really handy that you can do is this blurred faces, especially if you're working with kids or anybody, I guess. If you don't have permission to show somebody's face, sign permission usually, what you can do is do blurring faces. So if YouTube finds somebody's face on here, it puts a blur on it. I didn't do it on this one, but we'll fool around with it. The other thing that you can do is trim things.
My house.
So in this case, of course,
In the middle of the street.
this video is pretty short, so.
My house.
But if you've got a video where you got, you just want this one little part of it, you can actually use YouTube to trim it out and trim it down. So maybe that's what you said your videos were too big to fit somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we can trim them actually. So anyway, we'll do that tomorrow.
And then what do I? There's all four of them are on them.
Do you make a YouTube channel?
No.
YouTube channel?
No channel? You not sure?
I'm on YouTube and then we're.
Well, are you in Chrome? Are you logged into your Pro account? So there, you want to somewhere.
I am logged.
Okay,
into my
let's go. I'm gonna go and find your little, okay, there you go. And then if you go up in here, that's, and look at my channel. Okay, so now you gotta get it set up, so you gotta say allow. Okay, so there's your stuff that's in your channel. So
But how do
now
I get my videos in there?
So now on your device?
They're in my drive, they're right here.
Oh, okay, that's the Google Drive. Yeah, you should actually probably upload them. I'm sure there's a way to do it right from the drive, share them to YouTube. It's probably easier to go to your device and upload them right to YouTube rather than to the website. So if you open your device, find the video. You'll find YouTube. What you might have to do is open up YouTube on your device.
No, I have already access.
Oh, is it? No. Just go find YouTube app over here on our side. Or you don't have, yeah, you've got YouTube on there. Be someplace else though. Go back and be one of your Google things.
Yeah, I was just taking away my notes and it also for me, I logged out.
So now it'll find all your stuff
Now I
that's on
don't
your
think over
device.
there, 'cause I can't remember where it is. Know where that is? Oh, gee.
Just now go in the,
Let me see.
and that's it, allow. So you gotta get connected to this with
My last one, yeah.
Yeah, so this is,
And which one you want?
yeah.
Well, these are the four, right?
That's the ones that's
Yeah.
true, okay,
Yeah.
these are the ones, okay. So click on one of them, anyone, start with one of them.
Or? Language. Cognitive domain.
Okay, so you gotta change channel,
From that thing back there.
go back there, go back there.
Back there, and then what they'll be able to
You gotta
do.
change it to the account.
Financial we're allowed to push two.
Backwards is
For the cognitive and the other one is like psychomotor, but these are two I think. And then Bloom's taxonomy, I get to these stages.
So we're gonna put ICT and Bloom's taxonomy.
But for each one? Yeah, for each one, but I don't know, like, that's a
Pretty sure, but
Let's
try
see.
next
How-
there. It should be the
I'm not
same.
sure.
Upload as, so, check your channel, you should already have a channel, but you maybe just.
Let's see if I get it right, did I get it right? I think
So.
so where's your clock?
we'll figure it out.
I didn't do it yet. I still have to make it yet. How long it is? That's only one. And then you put your podcast right there.
Yeah, yeah, you should
That's
go
only
to.
one, that's only one, yeah.
Are you logged into your own account on that device or? Can you log into your own account on that device?
This is my own.
Yes.
This is my own number. So it's just that I have to do this there in order to get.
Taxonomy and I think yeah, taxonomy and
Uh,
That's why I was just trying to use this and put it to work.
so you're already got it in there, okay.
I don't know how
I forget how to do this, but you should be able to go right from your drive to YouTube too. So you can find that video on, here. And I can't remember exactly.
Right on
what it
that.
is, but let's try
Oh, my mom? No.
to explore.
No.
Click on one of the yellow ones that you want. So, and I thought it was a really. I thought it was one of these things down here. Just do a Google search. Upload a video from Google Drive to YouTube. I'll do the same search. And see who gets there faster. Okay, important videos. Can you? Yes, you can. Okay, so here's what they say. Go to YouTube. And yeah, so it says you can upload video from, where from? One of these places should be Google Drive is what they're saying here. So go to YouTube, upload. On the right hand side, you should see an option to import videos from Google Drive. Click the import button. Google changes stuff all the time too, so sometimes it's, you gotta do a bit of an Easter egg hunt. Yeah, I don't know if that works. YouTube. Go to the channel there. Over here, and then hold the channel. Video. And then go to Photos, Google Photos. Import. I'll do a little bit more research on it too, but it's possible. It's, you can see I've found all my videos on here, so. Yeah, if you can figure out how to switch your iPad to your account too, your class account, that would help.
I'm creating my Wix site. You think you already have a stunning website? That's cool. You're welcome to skip or create your site now at Wix.com. There are hundreds of beautiful templates to choose from, and every part is completely customizable. I'm professional, and my website should be too. I just need to pick the right.
I'm Peggy K. Today I'm going to show you how to import videos you've uploaded to Google Drive or Google Photos into your YouTube channel. To import a video from Google Photos to YouTube, simply sign into YouTube with the same Google account you used to sign into Photos and go to the Upload page. On the Upload page, it says Import your videos from Google Photos and click Import. You can choose videos from your entire video list, or
Yeah, I think, Edith, you might have two different accounts open there. So one is your Google Drive is one account and your YouTube account is another one. So it's not connecting. So you gotta connect them somehow to the same account.
by just looking at those from your auto backup, or organized by album. If you want to import a video you uploaded to Google Drive into your YouTube channel, go to your Google Photos settings and make sure that you have Show Google Drive Photos and Videos in your photo.
Okay. And that's maybe what you're missing too, is this, if you go to your Google Drive settings or Google Photos, here to just find your anyway, that's all your Google themes, or even Drive, or here, put that way. So
This one?
yeah, not there. Your Google things, and I'll go find photos. And there's the settings on here. Yeah, this little sub-tabs over there. Settings. Yeah, so, what is it?
Okay, sharing.
Google Drive sync photos, there it is. Now, we're going to go back to where we were before on the YouTube upload. Now, we import. Fresh. So, go back to your photos, my photos in the top there. Are your videos actually in there?
They're all in there.
Oh, that's all in Drive. Okay.
But isn't there a way that you can drag these in here?
Well, that's what we're trying to do here is, so they're trying to get Google Photos to archive all of your photos and videos in Google Photo. And I think that's what we did here. So go back up to this little, let's check out this, yeah, well, no, this, the overflow icon.
This one?
Yep. And then to photos again. And Same over this one, because this is what it is. And then try that settings again. Maybe we had to save something, so we'll know that one yet. Settings. Set to Google Drive. Sync photos and videos from Google Drive. Okay. And is there, and do we have to save anything down below?
No, it doesn't say.
That's all it is. Okay. And then what else?
It just says activity.
Okay, yeah, well, that's. Okay, no, it should be. So now try refreshing this page again. And then if you go back and look in Google Photos, the video is actually in Google Photos. So left there, right, so let's.
More photos or?
Yeah, well, I think should show up anywhere. Okay. Oh, you click on those, it shows it. Okay. Now I'll go back to YouTube. Yeah, of course, this is, I'll try again. Okay. Huh. Oh, there.
Yeah.
So you pick the one that you want.
This is the one I started off with right here.
Okay, so trash. And then just say select volume here. Oh, volume left. Yeah, check. And then. Okay, there it goes. Now I have to go to the title again and something that you can identify. So it says image there. And then just publish it. It's anything from the title. But then you can usually click on the actual video over there. Yeah, click on it. And it should
It's
be
still
this.
loading.
Yeah, okay. Then you should get the URL. Right? How are you doing, Jeff?
Well, should I show you my podcast?
Okay.
Wait, what I have so far, because I don't know if I'm actually doing the right thing.
Okay, so the objectives we got. Specific learning objective, perfect, cognitive strategy. Yep.
And then from the ICT.
Yeah, right on.
Is it cognitive domain?
Yes.
Or
yes.
strategy, or does it?
But you should always consider both cognitive and academic.
Yeah,
So you
that's
got
what
that.
I meant, because I was allowed to do more than
Yep.
one.
Yeah, in this case, yeah, those are two different domains that sort of have maybe slightly different descriptions of
Yeah.
the objectives, so. One is
So one was
cognitive.
reflecting, and then the
Yeah.
other one was, given, because now they're gonna make their podcast, so
Right.
that's why I used two.
Yeah,
in
so
the
the
lesson.
criteria that they have, that might even come from the rubric, right?
Then Bloom's taxonomy, is that,
Yeah, and then.
can I have more than one page?
Well,
So I have remembering, students will be able to remember.
yeah,
how to
typically
understand.
it's a hierarchical, right? So if you choose something that's higher in the hierarchy, it assumes all the other ones.
Okay.
Right, so usually you just pitch it to the highest level that you expect.
Okay.
And then you can assume that.
And then the prereqs, should I list the clusters before, or is this fine, students will already know how to pronounce each letters?
No, that's probably
Okay.
enough for sure.
And then I have these prerequisites.
Yep.
Class
From
to
the-
go over the numbers and
Sure.
words in a Ojibwe.
Yep.
The goals,
Perfect.
then this is set context, and so long, oh my god.
No, that's fine.
But I
You
finished
got
the whole
lots of-
thing, and I also,
Sure.
this is what.
No, that's actually looks great. Because,
Yeah,
again,
it's crazy. And then this is where I'm gonna put my link.
sure, but also put a page on your blog too.
Yeah.
So like that.
No, I mean my link to my podcast of
The one
me
that you
talking.
created?
Yeah,
Okay, but I'll also put that on a page on
On
your
the blog?
blog.
Okay.
Yeah, Just
So that's the right idea?
yeah, perfect. That's very nice. You've done a lot of work on it. And I mean, after a while, you sort of start, for your own sake, you'll be able to trim that down. What do you actually need?
Mhm.
And you get to know what you need, and then some will be extra and streamline.
There's somebody who wants to know if she could come in here.
Oh, sure, yeah, come on in.
Probably,
Yeah. We're done basically. So.
okay. Let's see if there's something off the computer. Okay, I'll try to finish as much as I can now.
Try refreshing this.
Yeah. Sorry, one is over there. Yeah.
Seems like a stick with some try.
Why is it saying
I don't know,
Fragrance
so
does
just,
not avail for perfume?
Yes, I don't know what that is. I'm just Xing it out there, because I don't think they actually chose that. This said publish now. I don't know why it's taking so long. But it's obviously working on that, so you're in right?
I think so, but I haven't even started anything on my lesson plans because I
Oh,
don't
yeah, I
know
saw
how-
that. I was actually looking at that too. I can give you a hand if you want.
Because I don't know where you, exactly how you want it and how you want it done. Because I'm just,
So if you go to your mind map on your blog, or even go into your MindMeister account. On your account.
I don't even know where my,
Well, what's that? Click on there, it says. And you got it listed on, that's my blog there.
I have it on my blogger.
Okay, just update this so you don't lose anything. And go back to your,
My view, my blog,
and now hit that star up there.
this one.
And you can even leave that on there, so it's done. Now you can find your blog right there. So now, have you got your lesson plan there? Okay, good, click on it. And you've got to sign in or log in with your Google account. Did you connect your Google account together? Yeah, try that. That's probably the simplest way to do things. Find that straight. Log in. And,
I'm pressing login.
yeah, that's right. Okay, can now hit that star again,
Where's this thing?
the bookmark star.
Where? This one? Oh, this one.
So you don't have to hunt for it anymore. And get rid of the words, erase, delete.
These ones?
Hit the delete key right now, that's good. You don't need that, right? No, say done. Okay, now anytime you're looking for your map, it's there. Okay, so now there's your lessons on that. Good. Okay, so yeah, that's what to do.
I know, I got a lot of work to do and I don't even know how it starts.
So, you have to do some sorting here too. So you've got them called lesson one, this video, right?
Yeah,
So you can actually just click on where it says lesson one
right here.
and just call that video. Now, did you get all of the other information from the,
So, this thing where it says lesson 2, did you want it has a podcast thing?
What you want to do is actually go back and get the lesson planning template, because you're just in a field. So if you go up in the top here where it says, go back into that little arrow there. No, I don't think you got enough.
I've got this here.
Okay, well, that's the one you want to pass. Yeah, that's the one you want. Yeah, that's the one you want to look at. Okay, so now most of what you have to do is figure out what your objectives are, right? What do you want to teach? So, and this is where you have to get information from the Manitoba curriculum, right? So for example, what do you think you might teach on the podcast?
I don't even know.
What subject area are you planning to teach?
No, I'm just trying to focus with the grade 1 and 2.
Okay, well, what subject?
Probably like social studies.
Okay, let's start with that. So now go find the Manitoba curriculum. I think I've got linked in your blog or not. It's linked online, right? Yeah. So now go down and say social studies, yeah. And then find the over on the left there, curriculum documents. And now, before. And now find a topic in there. So there's grade 1. Yeah, you just put anything in there. You sort of have to use the appropriate thing where the lesson, where it's appropriate to use podcasting to teach that, right? So
the podcast is the one with the map, or is it different?
No, that's the audio. Podcast is audio. So, I don't know, go into grade 1 curriculum there, so even connecting and belonging. Let's try that, just see what's there. So here's all the different lessons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look at down where it says clusters, cluster 1.
Can I do with the one within my environment?
Sure, yeah.
The podcast is the one with what? That has to do?
Audio. So something with sound in it, right? Yeah, so go into my environment. Yeah, you can have some fun with this. You can have listening to frogs or ducks or whatever. So identifying different things. So now here you're going to but you have to fit it into something that's in the so now you just have to find one lesson, and that's what you're planning a lesson for, 1 50-minute period. Right? Here, KC003. Recite the words to Canada's national anthem in English or French.
This?
Yeah, so that'll be your objective. You click on that. So you're in cluster 3, was it?
No, 1.
Cluster 2. Okay, cluster 2. The learning objective is 1, 2, 2, right, my province and country, and then the specific learning objective is KC-003. Recite the words of the national anthem in English or French. Yeah, so just highlight that. That started the bottom go up. Very good. Very good. And Control C. Yeah. Back to your map. Can you open up on the top? Is it, or- Yeah,
This one?
Yeah. And the podcast. An objective, main objective. And the objective map over so you can see it, right? No, it's the enter or tab key. And Control V. There. So now you might want to get a little bit more detail. In fact, what you can do is go back over to the curriculum document. No, it should be open as a tab up on the top there.
Not even, this key.
Now go to cluster 2.
I think it's this one.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
You copy the link to that. Right now. Open the URL there. This thing,
This one?
yeah. URL. Control C. Copy that. And go back to your map. It should stay open in a tab at the top there, instead of having to move back and forth all the time.
See, it's, I can't seem to figure where to go, and it's just,
Okay. So there now, on that objective there, oh,
see, it's gone, huh? I don't know how.
okay, click on that again, and then objective. And then,
But then what did we,
yeah, I don't know, after that, just didn't save for some reason. Okay, this thing here. Yep, that tab.
this one?
That's, this is all the things that you can do, right? So on this main objective now, you're gonna go in and hit on that little arrow with the link. And then in there, paste that, so Control V, paste that. So now you've got a link to that right now, right? And then just click anywhere else in the map.
Just anywhere
Anywhere
here?
there, yeah. So now you can see this main objective now has that arrow on it. Go back to that curriculum document. And do this one, right? One of those.
I'm not sure what came in.
Should stay open now.
See, I didn't even finish this part yet.
Okay, because you're still waiting for that video to upload, so we can come back to that one. We're going back to that. Yeah. So before we go any further on this, let's make a link. Yeah, just so it's easy to find.
That's okay.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. You might, if you get a whole bunch of those across there, you might want to trim it down just so it's not so taking up so much room. Okay, so now go back to good one. You're going to find your specific learning objective.
Was it I belong or was it
That was
my
environment, I think, yeah.
So you
Yeah,
took
so
this?
Casey, yeah, that's it. See it. Yeah, it should still be open as a tab up at the top there, ideally. And then go to that objective for the podcast. The link is still there, so click on that where it says,
Right here?
yeah, okay, click on main objective. And hit tab again. And now Control V. And then just click somewhere else outside of that box. Okay, now it's I think if you don't click off the map and you just click away from your map, it doesn't save the things that you entered. Okay, so that's the curriculum objective for your podcast lesson. Now we'll go down to main objective 2 there. Now I would suggest changing those terms. So where it says main objective 1, click on that one. Sorry.
This one?
Yeah. And just change that. Click to it turns blue. And now change this to Manitoba curriculum. Good. And then now down on the main objective 2. Yeah. Now change that to ICT curriculum. Yeah,
ICT what?
ICT continuum. Now click anywhere off. Yeah, so now it's saved. So now you got to go back up and find. So what you should do is open another tab here and look for the ICT continuum.
Didn't I save that on my,
Yeah, you probably did. But
on my,
probably did. That's the curriculum.
is this the one? No?
No, that's the other part. Yeah, I don't know. Well, you can go there. Click on that one, Manitoba curriculum, because ICT is part of that one, right? So if you scroll down in there, you see information and communication technology in the middle.
Oh.
So now you want to go with the early and middle years. But you can go with that one, literacy with ICT plus continuum. And with the teachers. And where it says ICT can cross the continuum on the far left side there. And continue again.
Do I use continue or just this first one?
Yeah, you can use the continuum.
This one?
Either where. So now this, remember, this is what we're doing. So when you're planning a lesson, what task are you going to use? You're going to ask them to question plan, or gather and make sense, or scroll down, produce to show understanding, or communicate, or reflect. So what do you think this would be in this case?
Wasn't it fall under reflect?
Yeah, maybe or communicate, because you want them to know the words to this.
Yeah.
So, and then shares information, ideas, and or work with a teacher-defined audience. So it's probably that one. So just copy all that. Control C. And then go back to your map, your lesson,
Oh, okay.
and now
Over here.
now tab again now. Hit the tab button. And now paste.
Control V.
And then click someplace off the map. Okay, so now that's saved. So now then the third thing, if you want to do that one, click on that one. And call this one, click it and change it, and Bloom's taxonomy. And then click enter on that. Okay, now open another tab on the top there.
This one, where?
Another tab on the top.
Right here?
Yep. And just do a Google search for Bloom's taxonomy.
Yeah, because you put.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go there.
This one?
Any one of those, yeah, something that's going to be a good idea. Sure. Okay, now put a link to this one, bookmark this one.
Oh, I
Little
know.
stars.
Mine was only 4 pages, and then it's already there.
Yeah, but you can take out some of them, just put blooms, leave blooms. You don't need all those blooms across the top there.
What did you say?
Yeah, no, and,
And you're reading the regular notes.
Now, when you go to
because
look at this.
me, I
So now,
chose.
when you are
cheaper
teaching grade one,
designs,
probably you only want to use the lower parts of numbers. So, but these are all what you'd expect at the higher grade stage. So probably it's the remember one, right? So if you click on that one,
That's this one?
yeah, so you see on the side there, it says, oh, that's fine. So recall facts and basic concepts, just copy that.
This one?
Yeah.
But if this is a uniform.
Well, okay, so you might have to type that. So go back to your map and mind map and tab now
You know what I mean?
and say remember and recall.
That's all I'm looking.
Now you're asking them to recite
Then I
the,
just used the,
okay.
then I just used the other
Okay,
stories.
so now you got your objective set.
Yeah.
You got your lesson defined, you got it identified as an adaptive curriculum, you got it identified in the ICT continuum, and you've identified the expectations you have for how well they should do.
Mhm.
So that's
No.
That's
this is
where-
my body, the one I wrote.
So now then you fill in the other things. So what would they need to do if they were going to make a recording of them reciting okay?
Then this is my computer. Where do I put that?
Well, so we could start with resources, for example. So what material? So you need a printout of the words of the okay.
So if I were to write it out on a poster paper,
Yeah, or even put a link to the words of O Canada. So actually, what you do here is go open another tab in there. On the top.
right there,
On the tab, that's a node. Open a tab on the top. And just search for OK.
yeah, Times New Roman 12, font 12, and then we do double space,
Lyrics, yeah.
and then you have to do,
And then we'll find a seven somewhere.
because it leaves a big gap. Like see over here, they would have had,
Yeah, words to OK.
yeah, when you're done, you have to do remove space. Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't.
And go down to Wikipedia then.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Or, next page.
What did she say about your,
Yeah, go back. Let's do it.
she said I didn't have after they.
Okay, go to Wikipedia. Oops, sorry. Sorry, I skipped in there. English words, so just highlight all that. Yep. Just keep going. Okay, Control C. Go back to your map. That's it. Now go into materials and open another tab there. Okay, so now you don't.
Okay,
And I say, words. Or,
works to Canada.
okay, yeah. Okay, now, you listen to that little notes mode, that's it. And now just click on that yellow space and paste it. Control V. Good. Click anywhere off the map. And I added a note to that node. You hover over that node.
Okay.
So now that's the main material. Now we need, is there any people resources necessary? Yeah, probably not. Is there any facilities? Yes. Okay, so now you're gonna need a recording something to record audio to the computer internet.
So can I choose a video of kids singing in Canada or?
No, this is a podcast, so podcast is just audio, right? So if you're doing that, then that would be for a video lesson, right?
Yeah.
So if you wanted your kids to record an audio file of them reciting in Canada, what would they need to do that? What would you need to do?
Music.
Okay.
Music, the background music?
Maybe, yeah, although I think they said just recite it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think they said sing it, just recite it.
So just recite.
Well, yeah, but what facilities would they need to accomplish this? They need a recorder of some kind, right? A digital recorder. Because this, you're gonna get them to make a digital file. So what do they need to make a digital file?
Well, they can use the recorder like to tape themselves?
Yep.
Like that?
Yeah, except then now, where are they gonna get a recorder? What recorder?
From the library.
Yeah, okay, so tab it again. Say library.
Okay.
And then now, if you're involved in the library, you're gonna have to go to people and say, tab over again, and librarian. You get her on site.
Yeah.
Good. So then what else would they need though? So they can get a recorder from the library. Once they record, what do they do with the recording?
Okay.
Well, they're gonna make it into a podcast. What's a podcast?
That video?
No, podcast is just audio. So audio is like we did with SoundCloud, or today we did with Internet Archive, or we did with Anchor, or Vocaroo. video is video, right? Podcast is just audio. Yeah, so they're gonna need, some way to upload it to the internet. So under facilities, I go there and click on facilities again, and then tab again. Okay, ICT lab. Yeah, okay, and then one more tab over again. And now what, internet connection? Yeah. Okay, so now click off somewhere else. So it doesn't get lost. Okay, so there you go. Probably the main things that you need. So then you might even put down right there, where else would that be? Might put it under notes or something like that, or, you could still put in resources and go into facilities again. Facilities and tab. And then put, let's say SoundCloud.
SoundCloud?
Yeah, that's the one that goes here. Which means that, well, for grade one, you're probably gonna be hand-holding them through a lot of this stuff, right? So you're gonna be recording through this for them. Oh, hard to say. Some of the grade ones will be, they could be pretty good. Okay, so you've got.
So then I still have to fill these ones out?
Well, some of those are duplicates, right? Because you already have objectives. So you can click on objectives there, where it says objectives.
Yeah.
No, click on the notes,
Okay.
click on objectives.
Delete this?
And then, goals, lessons or series title, you might want to put in there. Click on that one and just say, grade one social studies.
Do I have to have the proper title for
You
it?
might want the cluster, just for your own reference, right? You've already got that down here.
So,
You already linked it down there, but. Yeah.
so social studies cluster.
Then cluster 2, right?
Mhm.
For grade 1.
Oops.
Yeah. So you might know that. The goals of each lesson. Go over the goals. So some of them you got from the ICT continuum too. So you're getting them to communicate. Content, that's important. You already got that already in the note above, so you just get rid of that one. Method of instruction, so demonstration.
I will demonstrate it or just?
Well, how are you going to teach this lesson? And demonstrate probably.
Can I write then or no?
Well, what you do now is,
Demonstrate.
now when you're on that one, hit the enter.
Demonstrate. Great.
Okay, and then how will you evaluate? Now, this is where we're doing things like, you open another, go back to the tab on the top there, going back into the my blog up there.
Which one? This one?
Well, I don't know if you've got a link. Did you link Kathy Schrock's website on yours?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Go back to that. Yeah, it's really so. I got two tabs open to it. So
And then it's in
close
my,
this one, close this one too. And that one.
was
Okay,
it
so
right
it's-
here, look, Kathy?
Okay, go there, yeah. So now what you're looking for is a rubric, podcast rubric. So looking for assessments. Let's go to the top one, it says resources. Yeah, try to copy shorten that there, let's see.
No, it doesn't.
Let's see. Oh, right there. Oh, what is this? Assessment rubrics on the left-hand side there. Scroll down to, so you'll see there's something in there.
There's podcast rubric 1.
Yeah, so she's got a
Or
bunch
two.
of them. She's got a bunch of them, so you gotta figure out which one is the appropriate one for what you're doing. Let's look at that.
There's not the audio one.
Okay, let's just say that. Let's grab the link for that now. And go back to the map.
Where's my one?
Oh, okay, it goes open another tab on the top there. Do a little map thing there, there you go. Podcast, and under method of evaluation. Tab. And say rubric. Now go back to the link button down here.
This one?
No, the link one, the arrow. And I'll put that arrow on there. And I'll put in the map somewhere in there. Okay, so now we've got to go through the prerequisites. What do they need to know before they could do this lesson? So, I don't know, where are you in that social studies cluster? If you go back up to that, the Manitoba curriculum, you can figure out where that one is. So that's, grade 1, connecting 1. Oops. Yeah, no, you're right. And then, we could say, have completed cluster 1 or something like that. Let's go check it out. And you say it has completed all the elements of cluster 1.
So that's it all right on there?
Yep, that's what I just put, as a prerequisite, before you can go to cluster 2, you have to do cluster 1. Then they have to know how to do record a podcast, right? They have to know how to record audio.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that they would have paid attention to your demonstration or something like that. This is probably the best way they could do that. I wouldn't worry about too much about goals. So we do cluster 1 tab and say cluster 1.
Just write cluster one?
Yeah, well, you might want to fill in more so that you get more detail in it. Yeah, well, yeah, okay. Well, completed cluster methods. Okay. Yeah, you can get rid of goals if you want, because that's, just click on it. Just click on it and delete. Just highlight it now, so, and delete again. Okay, so go back up now. Now set context. Okay, this means, how do you prepare them for this lesson? Why do they need to know Canada?
Okay.
So what's the context of learning to recite O Canada? So it means,
So that's how you want all of these done with the
Yeah.
other ones?
so that was, and then I want you to record an audio file of what your directions to them. I'm modeling something that they can follow as a demonstration, right? So probably if you did it in SoundCloud, just recite O Canada in SoundCloud and save it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and then the rest of them are the same. Most important though is linking it back to the Manitoba curriculum. That's mostly what I'm interested in doing. Figuring out how you're going to use ICT to teach something very specific to the Manitoba curriculum. But you're on the right track though.
All right.
We'll get some supper.
So I don't need to press save for anything here, it just automatically saves it?
And MindMeister,
Yeah?
as soon as you click off someplace, it saves it, yeah.
Okay.
If you don't and just leave it, it won't save the last node that you're on. So
All right.
I should have turned this, turned this video off before. I don't know if it's even still recording. I think it is. Maybe. Check your video, see if YouTube figured it out.
Okay, now I'm on my,